we have our good friend joining us. He is a conscious comedian. He's a activist, and he is a wealth of information. He knows a lot about a lot of stuff. He joined us on our trip to the Greater Reset with Carrie and Silas, who are here. We had a nice time with him. But Jason's been at every one of our events, I believe. This is number 11, and I'm pretty sure he's probably been on the stage more than anyone else because he's spoken and done comedy a lot. I don't know. It's not a contest. But anyway, we appreciate him and his unique point of view and his comedy stylings, and we hope that you guys enjoy. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's a fire spinner too, and later tonight he's going to spin fire, but we'll talk about that later. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Robo.
Right. Dad, where's my bubble? What was that? Hold on, I gotta open this thing real quick. Second Amendment.
Okay. Right. Chill out. Relax.
I take it like everywhere. I almost never have anybody ask me to take it off, so
Well, that's good.
it's kind of fun. And I take my dog everywhere too. So, well, anyways, a little bit about me. My mini bio would be: I studied personal training and politics, and I'm also a Taurus, so I know bullshit. Sorry, simple. So yeah, I want to talk about discrimination. I guess will be the topic roughly. I don't know. I wrote like a set a while ago, and I really didn't quite look at it until it was like yesterday. So, and I couldn't find it. It was in my motorcycle. But anyways, and yeah, the whole thing today is like, oh, white men, racism. You're not allowed to talk about this and that or whatever. I think it's like, aren't white people supposed to be the most qualified people to talk about racism? But I didn't say racism actually, because I'm talking about discrimination, which is a whole like serious like thing. You know, racism is kind of like a divide and conquer nonsense thing. That's the way I look at it. I'm more concerned with elitism, and I don't really like isms anyways. I am anti-ism because anybody can say there's something and be completely full of crap. I think most people are use diapers in that sense. I guess I don't know. But if I was going to be about racism, I would be into embracism, which is we should all be uniting with our common ground. But I am Italian, and most people don't know like Italian history. I had a great grandfather, so like they were lynched along with black folks. One of the largest lynchings in U.S. history was actually in New Orleans. 11 Italians were accused of killing the police chief or something, and they probably didn't do it. And then they were found not guilty, and then they were murdered. So, anyways, that's the kind of history they don't teach you in woke culture. But that's reality, so it is what it is. Actually, I have a great-grandfather who was murdered. He was shot in the head, so as far as white privilege is concerned for Italians, forget about it. They call Italians WAPs. Has anybody heard that one? Yeah, I think WAPs stands for without privilege. I don't know. It's just a theory. Anyways, I guess one of my points is about the media. You know, you can't trust the media because they basically exist to rub crap in our third eye and make it more of a turd eye. Yeah. Like, for instance, they created the war on drugs. Has anybody heard about the history of how cannabis was made illegal? Like 100 years ago, they said that stony, super strength, bloodthirsty Mexicans are going to rape and murder their way across America. It's like that story's on a shakier foundation and a handshake with Michael J. Fox. Well, some of y'all gave that a fair shake. Yeah, I mean, how racist is that too? Like they made the word marijuana up. Like it was called cannabis and hemp, and all the hemp farmers were like, "What the hell? It's illegal now? What are you talking about?" Like they didn't know what marijuana was. Like this is such treachery. And then it's so racist they literally put "Juan" in the middle of the name. Like, they might as well have called it Spooky Spick Smoke or something. It's basically what that is. So I refrain from using the word, honestly. So, you gotta know your history. Anybody know about Jack Herrera? Or Hare, as we'll say. Yeah, he wrote The Emperor Wears No Clothes. I got to smoke weed and chill with him. Had him at my university twice when I was the normal chapter president at Humboldt State. I was actually where I went to school, too. Y'all know what's up with Humboldt County? That was not enthusiastic. Maybe y'all just too stoned. It's a stony area, and you could tell because a lot of businesses in town up there happen to be rock shops. Apparently that level of stoniness makes you an honorary geologist. It's like, what you smoking there? Is that green crack? Nah, man, it's that kryptonite. That joke was super, man. I could talk about Humboldt for a while. That was just a dumb segue for all the stuff about Mexicans and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's like people like ingest tons of media, but we're not learning anything, you know? Like there's the Netflix and chill thing, but it's more like a Netflix and still have no clue. It's pretty much what's going on. Unless you watch the documentary, I think they have 13th on there. They have vegan documentaries on there too, right? Like they have like Seaspiracy and stuff. But they don't have, what's it called? They're Trying to Kill Us. I don't know if you ever heard that one. I'll try and get back to that one in a little bit. Anyways, does anybody know much history about Puerto Rico, for instance? Like, U.S. territory has expanded crazy. There's a book called How to Hide an Empire. I read books like no one's business because I trim weed and I can multitask, so it's great. But anyways, so when the Pearl Harbor was attacked, people didn't even know that Hawaii was the U.S. Like, that's how oblivious people were to what our territories are. Puerto Rico is similar. It's not technically a state, but it's still U.S. territory. And they actually had a freedom fighting movement, and they don't teach that in the history books. They don't want us to know about this stuff. There was a guy named Albizu Campos, I think was his name. His last name was for sure Campos. And he actually created his own military. They're like, oh, well, we're not part of the U.S. government, and we don't have a military, we don't have protection. Then, like, well, we're going to start our own military. They're marching in the streets and stuff. And then the U.S. government went in, like, massacred them. There's a town called Ponce, super beautiful town, really cool architecture. So, anyways, they tried to kill Herbert Hoover, I think. And they went to the U.S., and they actually were outside the guy's house. The dude's loading a gun, and he sticks his dumb head out the window. And then luckily, he didn't have bullets loaded in it. They already killed a cop, and, well, he was dying, and he shot that dude. And, like, so they damn near killed a U.S. president. They also sent some men into the U.S. Congress, and they shot 30 bullets, and they hit 5 congressmen. You never heard of this, right? It's insane. So they don't want us to know the history. So, yeah, read a book. That would be a truly stranger thing, in my opinion. So, the one thing I want to differentiate too is there's a whole history. You can look this up. There's lots of interesting lectures about this, like what whiteness is. Like, it's actually a really weird like conception that was created a long time ago. Basically, the slave trade in world history for centuries was actually Georgians, and I'm not talking about like where peaches come from. I'm talking about Georgia, like out in like Eurasia and such. So they were considered some of the most beautiful people. So they were selling their women and children like hotcakes. And that's where the slave trade was actually based out there until the New World, so-called, we discovered this place, right, happened. And then things changed. And then in order to, get the debt slaves to not unite in uprise with the black slave people, they were told that the white people were superior, even though they're still kind of slaves. So that's basically what whiteness is. It's a bunch of nonsense. And then the idea of a cracker is, I think, interesting too, because a cracker is not so much like you're white like a saltine. It's like a cracker is actually like someone that cracks a whip. So I don't have any sweatshop clothing. I have like all organic fair trade stuff pretty much with very few exceptions. So I'm pretty much not a cracker. So somebody would think I'm a cracker, but I don't identify as a cracker. You check the fabric of my being, it is not very cracker-like. So anyways, do your best. It's a pain in the ass, but it's worth it. Sleep better at night, I guess. And I know a bunch of horrible stuff about the world, so that's hard to do in itself. Anyways, yeah, so it's weird. And I mean, the media, back to the media too, they just kind of ramped all this stuff up too. So like in the media, it's like, oh, it's like there was a black person in the dark of night in an Onyx automobile. It's like they are addicted to like racism, basically, And I don't really believe in racism is my point, Like, it's kind of like Santa Claus. It's like, I know that like people believe in him, but I know he's not real. If that makes any sense. Santa also can spell Satan if you jumble it. I don't know. All right. Well, anybody know about the COINTELPRO program? You heard about it? Yeah. All right. So, yeah, back in the civil rights era, the FBI. And by the way, too, the FBI hasn't, like, existed just to keep darky down. They actually were screwing over Charlie Chaplin. Does anybody know anything about that? Charlie Chaplin, he had to build his own studio so he could actually make his own damn movies, and he still ate it. And he left the country for 20 years, and he like had to come back, and all of his movies were like he was treated like a demon. The Great Dictator was like not seen well. Which is interesting too, because basically the U.S. was going to be on Hitler's side. Has anybody heard of that one? Yeah. All right. There's a guy named Smelly Butler. Has anybody heard of that dude?
War is a racket.
Yeah, War is a Racket. He wrote a great little small book. And yeah, so he was a 2-time Medal of Honor winner, which is unprecedented. I don't think anybody's ever done that also. And each time they gave him a medal, he's like, this is bullshit politics. I don't want your stupid medal. Has anybody seen Patton? There's a great speech in there. Well, I don't know, but War is a Racket. He is talking about like the decorations and stuff. He's like, we want the soldiers wanted to feel proud, so we let them be decorated. You know, so the whole thing with like medals is just like treat them like Christmas trees or something. Back to Santa and stuff. Well, anyways, I'm kind of going on tangents here, but yeah. So Smelly Butler, he was part of something. I forget what the name of the plot was, but there was like maybe it was called the business plot, and so all these elite like scumbags in the U.S. that wanted to be allied with Hitler. And he dedicated Mein Kampf to U.S. eugenicists, so that's, you know, he was like, look how well I can do eugenics. So he was knocking it out of the park out there. And yeah, so Smelly Butler was approached, and they're like, we want you to absorb the powers of the president and be a super secretary is what. They were going to create like some new cabinet member, and he was just going to siphon off all the powers of the president. And they kind of did that with the vice president, Dick Cheney, but, you know, I can go on another tangent there. I don't talk about my dick. I talk about the dicks around the world, so... forgive me. But anyways, Smelly Butler, he snitched on these elitist scumbags, and he testified to Congress that like they were trying to do this. And so he played along, and they snitched on him. And so that's like historic fact. Also one of the things you don't find out about like Puerto Rican presidential assassination attempts and such. So yeah, back to the FBI and Charlie Chaplin and all sorts of shadiness that's happened that they don't tell anybody. Yeah, COINTELPRO, they would like do characters assassinations on people, like even if like a white person, so-called, would support like the Black Panthers, for instance. There was an actress, I forget her name, and she was super chill with them and hired them as bodyguards and stuff. And so she got pregnant, and then to help take her character down and to also attack the Black Panther Party, they said that she was impregnated by one of her bodyguards. And it's like, I mean, we've got, what do they call, ultrasounds, you know? They don't show skin color, so, you know, you got to wait like 9 months or whatever the time period is to wait to see if that rumor was true or not. So that's kind of character assassination stuff that's been going on. And I don't know. Anybody heard of Steve Biko before? He was an apartheid activist who was murdered. I think he was killed in prison in South Africa. And he had a great quote. He said that there's no more potent weapon in the tools of the oppressor than the mind of the oppressed. So I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to chisel away at here. So spread some of this weird stuff around conversation if you can. Is anybody familiar with the 13th Amendment? It says involuntary servitude is illegal unless convicted of a crime. There's a lot to unpack there, actually. So first thing, basically, it says that we all can be slaves. 14th Amendment also does that, too, and makes corporations people that live forever and can't be punished, so that's weird. But the 13th Amendment, it says involuntary servitude. So I think it was the last one I did. Did I do the state national one? I don't know. I did a speech on state national. So some of the stuff that one of the fellows earlier on stage was talking about, like the state national stuff, if you're a non-resident alien, all this statutory law that says all these nonviolent crimes you could be convicted of whatever, they all become irrelevant because they don't apply to you. You're like your sovereign nation. It's kind of like how like a dignitary comes here, like they can do almost anything and they can't get away with it. Basically, it's like only violent crime or property damage are the only things you should be able to get in trouble for, and that's common law. So, but yeah, I think one thing that would be interesting though is if you were a person of color is one of those terms that they've thrown around, which is kind of funny because before, what was it? You say you're somebody's colored person, that's bad, but now it's like person of color, that's okay. Like, I swear they're just messing with us, you know. Like we went from Osama bin Laden to voting for Obama and Biden. Like that sounds a little too close to what we're supposed to be afraid of. Like I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, we got the prison industrial complex. Oh, I guess I was going to say, as far as persons of color are concerned or whatever, I think it would be really awkward to work at a soup plantation. Just be a little weird. Anything with plantation, I don't know. But yeah, so we got the prison industrial complexes, I guess is the point that I'm getting in there. And yeah, and that's why it's basically you could get in trouble for doing something like being black on a Friday night, like that movie Don't Be a Menace. Anybody ever seen that? Yeah, so that's like why we got the system that we got. And then, like I said, this applies to everybody though. It's just like we all just have different flavors of crap. It's kind of like if you were like a rape crisis center and you had like chicks like beefing like about like how crappy their rape was and be like, oh girl, you have it so much better than I did. Like I was in a condo, you were like, or you were in a condo, I was in a dumpster. Like when I got like what, like. Everybody's getting screwed here, literally, like in that situation. Like, what? Why are you gonna like? That just shouldn't be happening. Why don't you just unite over that cause? So, I feel like that's part of the divide and conquer that we're dealing with. So, but yeah, so we got prison industrial complex. Now we got the medical industrial complex and the sick care system, which like they treat us all like cows. They literally talk about like herd immunity, you know. And I think it's funny too because they give us a lot of pills to keep people from getting aggro, and it's like they actually call them mood suppressants. Fun irony. But yeah, 1/6 of American income goes on average to the sick care system. So that's pretty massive. I mean, like we fought the revolution over 10% tax on tea. So you give them 1/6 of your money. That's huge. What is that like mathematically? Isn't that like 16% or some crazy number like that? 0.66666. Yeah. No, there's like all sorts of massive. Yeah, multiple taxation forms and stuff. So, taxing that ass in all sorts of ways. And I mean, part of it's because like they feed us crap, you know. Like as far as eating healthy is concerned, we've literally tossed the salad. That joke eats ass. Yeah, we got the number one cause of death is heart disease, which you know. Fun fact about that is one of the major side effects is erectile dysfunction. I think that's your body telling you it's not fucking around. Yeah, and it's like the hospital system is like they're literally run by like McDonald's now. I mean, it's like next time you have a heart procedure, is like you're gonna go to Best Bypass. Like I don't know, so ridiculous. Get your value meal for your valve job. I don't know. It's just nuts. Yeah. Oh, I kind of skipped through a bunch of stuff. Well. Let's just talk about Mexicans some more. No, I'll play. But yeah, one thing that's crazy about some of the racism stuff, you know, well, building walls and fences, you know, like it's all like back to the animal stuff. So this is kind of like a tangent doesn't not work entirely or somewhat. Yeah, it's weird. Like Trump was in office for 4 years and I don't give a damn about Trump. The whole thing's corrupt and stupid. So, I mean, you put somebody in there who's too open-minded and they're going to end up like JFK. So, yeah. Yeah, that's why he died. He was too. They're like, we're going to show you how open-minded he can be. That was an exploding bullet, by the way, too. I just read a book about JFK assassination. Jesse Ventura wrote it too. It's a great one. It's called "They Killed Our President." And so, yeah, to answer the question, somebody was talking about asking one of the speakers like, who killed JFK? It was the mafia and Cuban nationals and the CIA. So there you go. There's the answer to your question. There's literally an attorney general memo that says we need people to believe in the lone gunman and to not question the story at all. Like it's crazy. Like he uses government documents and all stuff. And then anybody that like challenges a story would die conveniently or change their story after weird harassment. Anyways, you know, some people they're like Trumpers, particularly stereotypically Republicans. They like we gotta protect ourselves from like immigrants and blah blah blah. And it's like weird because they all immigrated, which everybody knows that. But I think it's weird is because like I'm not racist or whatever against Mexicans, but I want to say that I am tired of these globalist scumbags disrupting the global economy and causing migration to come here and upsetting the local worker bees and thinking that they're being oppressed by the other people who are being oppressed, and everybody's just a bunch of idiots. So I don't know. That's weird. They say to stay hungry too. Isn't that a weird term? Yeah, it's like. I don't know. People in the third world must hate that. I think that their least favorite comic, too, in the comedy world would probably be Gallagher. Like, you're wasting all that good food. What are you doing? Well, anyways. Well, so back to the animal farm that is our society. Did anybody know facial recognition was perfected in pig farms? This is trippy. So they could, like, tell if, like, the pigs were unhappy. Which I guess they don't care in the end. At that point, they're not giving them anesthesia or nothing. But But yeah, they're like, does Porky need a Paxil? Like they could tell like if they're upset, like they're using the facial recognition stuff, which is really like kind of amazing technology. You know, it's like how can you tell if somebody came on their face? All right, that joke was nuts. Well, so some things that, as far as slavery goes, I mean, because I'm talking about discrimination, but I feel like slavery is like kind of a byproduct of discrimination. Is like engineered reliance and dependence on like nonsense. Porn. There's a lot of people who are addicted to porn. It's very interesting. I wonder if their theme song is "We Shall Overcome." I don't know. I could talk about that topic for a while. Are there still kids out here? Or like the last one's asleep? I don't know what's going on. Sometimes I get guidance and it's like, take it easy. And then like the kids are gone. He's like, you can say whatever you want. I'm like, I wasn't ready. I got the kids set. No. I kind of walk a fine line anyways.
Say whatever you want.
Well, anyways, yeah, speaking of chubbies and stuff, Oreos are a big thing. Even vegans are into it, like I'm vegan. And I mean, I eat pussy, so you could say I'm pescatarian. But yeah, Oreos, does anybody ever hear this? They did a study and they were found to be more addictive than crack.
What?
Yeah, because everything's all chemistry and dopamine and stuff, and Oreos actually are just as bad. I mean, if you see all the fat fucks walking around this country, I mean, there's less crackheads than fat fucks. So mathematically, I can see some proof in the pudding there. That could be a good segue to some jokes about Cosby, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. But yeah, another thing about like slavery and whatnot that's kind of happened is after the Civil War, they created disposable income. So they're like, all right, we're going to give them monopoly money, but they're just going to give it back to us. So we just got to figure out how to give it to us. Back to the 1/6 healthcare expenditure. So you can kind of see that's happening. There's a great documentary too about this kind of thing. Has anybody heard Edward Bernays? He's basically the godfather of advertising and marketing, and he was Sigmund Freud's nephew, so he had access to all of his uncle's documents and such. And instead of using it to like therapeutically help people and humanity, he used it just to like make us all slaves. So yeah, not a good guy. Total piece of crap. He like openly would like mock how stupid people were, and it's just like it's eugenics is like social engineering. So I feel like the 4-H club and all that stuff, like a lot of people are into that. It's like they practice with animals and they move on to us. You know what I'm saying? Like riding horseback and breaking a horse when you're a kid, and then like doing that same thing to a person. Oh, has anybody ever seen the movie Sorry to Bother You? That's a good one. You want to see a gnarly one that's got some real horsepower related. I don't want to spoil the ending to you. It's kind of like They Live with like Amazon and Google, like somehow like in some hybrid form.
What's it called again?
Sorry to Bother You. It's really, really good. So, but anyways, Century of the Self is the name of the documentary by this guy Adam Curtis. He also made a film called The Power of Nightmares, which is about how terrorism was created by the Western powers to destabilize regimes in the Middle East, and then it either backfired or did exactly what it was supposed to do on 9/11, which, I guess it just depends how you look at it. But anyway, so the idea was about Century of the Self and advertising and disposable income and wasting our money on nonsense and just giving it all to the elite, which they would have made it off of us anyways, is, people went from whips and chains to spending their money on whips and chains. So it's kind of a weird life hack. Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to talk about all this stuff. It gets super complicated. And like I said, in the social climate it is now, it's like being so-called white or identified as white. It's like, why do you have to label me? Like, everybody's into the label politics, so it's weird. The irony is like sometimes I have talk about like racism and like the war on terror and things like that. And I've had a comedian one time. He was a Marine, and he was like, that was a great set. He's like, but it was a little racist. And I was like, what? I'm like, you're the one that's like a skinhead, dude. Like, he has a shaved head and everything. He's the one that looks like a Klansman, so that was kind of weird. And then my girlfriend's sitting there next to me at the time, and we were together for like 10 years. She's black and Cherokee, so I was like, so you saying she's a dumb fill in the blank there? I don't know, like, what the hell? The weird twist of this, though, is like a month later, he had a meltdown on stage at this venue. It was a historic hotel up in Humboldt called the Eureka Inn, and they actually filmed a movie there. Who's a the big black comedian dude that does like the Domino's commercials now or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? He just makes me sick. This is like, dude, he looks unhealthy and he's just making everyone else worse too. He's dragging everybody down with him. Oh no. Craig Roberts, I think is his name. He did a movie there, so that was kind of funny. One time they were doing the open mic and somebody wrote Maria Bamford like in big weird letters, and I was like, who the hell did that? And then I'm looking at the list and she literally walks up to me and she's like, what's going on with the list? I was like, oh shit, you are here. I just thought somebody was being a silly goose. She likes to say that, so I guess I'm too big of a comedy nerd for you to laugh at that one. But yeah, so at the Eureka Inn, this dude like had a meltdown because the owners of the place is a Chinese family, and they wanted to change the open mic time, and he was really pissed about it, and he was super sauced on stage, and he started calling the owner of the place a dumb Chinese cunt. And then his comedy career basically ended. So it's like, were you projecting when you said I was racist? Because like I think that you just outdid me if you were like, that was not very productive. It wasn't like a good conversation, you know? Like not talking about, you know, anything about the history of Chinese and being racist against them or whatever. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. Oh yeah, and then so the funny irony though is about like such accusations that I've gone through in my life is that like I don't go after like black chicks or anything like that. Like I dated a Puerto Rican chick and a Mexican girl and a Jewish girl. Like I don't know, I've dated all sorts of like chicks in it like over time, and it's just funny because like I am dating a black chick right now, and somebody says I'm racist. I just think it's funny. But the even better irony though is that she is into whips and chains. But Biden says you're not black if you don't vote for him, so I guess technically she's not black. So I guess all is well in the woke universe. So as far as being afraid of like blacks and stuff like that kind of nonsense, I think if we were going to be afraid of anything black, I think we should be afraid of BlackRock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they like own everything, right, with Vanguard. Does that little kid know what's up? Somebody doing a good parenting job? We're going to do cursive today, and we're going to talk about BlackRock. No. Yeah, well, our monetary system is basically debt, so that's a weird form of slavery. It's like little talismans of evil in our pockets. Has anybody, heard of G. Edward Griffin? Yeah, that guy. He did some great work on that. Yeah, it's crazy because, like, basically there's debt made into the money. So, like, they can never print enough money to pay back the Federal Reserve, which is illegally printing the money because Congress is supposed to do that. And it's supposed to be gold and silver coin. So it's not even supposed to be these nonsense bills and whatever. So, but yeah, does anybody know where they conceived of the Federal Reserve?
Jekyll Island.
There you go. This guy, he knows all stuff. We were doing like one of my trivia nights, dude. You go first. Yeah, so Jekyll Island, which is one of the second to last places I think that slaves were imported to. So you know how good of a vibe that place had, right? So all the like elite industrialists like Carnegie and Rockefeller and these banking scum like all got together and rode separately on different trains, and they were on the same train at a point. They're just like, I don't know this guy. Like they were just acting like they're like really shitty spies. And so they got to Jekyll Island. They came up with the Federal Reserve Act. And I don't know. It's weird, like with the slavery history and the nonsense there. I guess Jekyll Island would be a good place to hide out to create a monster. I don't know. That's a weird joke. I want it to work, but I don't know how to do it sometimes. But yeah, it's at face value on our money, you could tell it's a pyramid scheme. I don't know. I mean, that's why like we have so much problems with poverty in the country, because like there's always going to be people at the bottom of the pyramid scheme. That's why you like go downtown. There's more bums in the office of a proctologist. I don't mean to bum you out. Isn't like downtown disgusting in most places? It's just like coated in piss and like Hep C turds, and I don't know. It's so disgusting and depressing. I don't know how anybody can just like go down there and just have fun. Like it's gross and sad. Has anybody seen anybody crapping on the street before? San Fran? Yeah. Was it the Tenderloin?
Yeah. It was near the Warfield.
Oh, she said Tenderloin. Oh, where's that one?
Yeah.
I didn't hear the other one in the back. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah. I've seen it in Arcata in Humboldt County. I don't know.
Any city.
Yeah, any city, you're going to see that. So, I don't know. They don't care about us. We'll see. Well, I'm roughly at about 30 minutes. So, Where are you from, knowledgeable sir?
Marietta.
Marietta? Oh, all right. I've been over there. How's that?
It's nice and warm.
Yeah?
Today it was.
Oh yeah.
Been cold though.
All right. Yeah, I like. I thought Lake Elsinore is supposed to be one of our most natural lakes in the state, and it's surrounded by suburb. And I'm like, oh, this is gross. I was like, it's a natural lake. I want to go kayaking there. And then I got there, and I was like, it was surrounded by suburbs and
dirty,
like
don't go in the
Roundup and feces probably from the bums on the street in it.
Don't go in that water.
Yeah, it's just I don't think it's good.
Never.
I had a friend who he went like swimming somewhere, and he got like some. It was like don't swim here, and he got water in his ear, and he had a brain-eating bacteria that almost killed him, and he's kind of messed up. So I don't know if he would have been less of a douchebag if that didn't happen, but probably didn't help. Somebody I was trimming weed with one time, he had a DUI, and like we were like trying to trim, and like he was like trimming like for like 5 minutes at a time, and then he'd weigh his basket, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna get nowhere fast if you keep fucking checking, dude. And he's like spazzing out the whole time. He's like, I gotta make all this money because of my DUI. It was like a DUI cost like $18,000 or some retarded amount of money, you know. It's like, it would be easier if we just had public transportation, but you know there'd be less slaves for the prison industrial complex at that point. So I don't know. Who was the farthest somebody came to get here, you think?
Somewhere outside of LA.
Yeah. I came to... Okay. Yeah, you're probably around... Is that like 2 hours or what? Yeah, I came from Hamul, East County, so... Yes, we were close. Joshua Tree's dope. You go to the festival there? Okay. Yeah, my dog might perform at Kids Zone, so
We're gonna try
we'll
to
see you.
vent
There's
there
two?
in the
Yeah?
fall.
All right.
We're gonna
Well, if you ever need another
apply,
minion,
at least.
let me
We'll
know
see.
too. Yeah, Joshua Tree's chill. Isn't it crazy though? Like they like there's an extinct animal, and so all the Joshua trees are gonna die now, right? Because they have to like eat them and poop them out or some way to. I thought that was like the thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It's a moth.
There's a moth that pollinates the Joshua trees, and they're independent. They're interdependent on each other. So
Yeah.
if one disappears, the other disappears as well.
Okay, so no, so they're still around then. Okay.
They're still around, but that big fire last year north of Joshua Tree on the way to Vegas took out huge, huge sections of country.
All right. Well, yeah, I knew there was something weird about the Joshua trees. Yeah, East County, San Diego is kind of weird. I think it's funny too, like back to like the I'm racist accusation type stuff that I've heard before doing like my edgy comedy. East County is like kind of funny. There's a lot of people with like little chins and stuff, and they're just like look all inbred and stuff. I actually found out, I think I talked about this at one point. There's a book called Breathe by a dude named James Nestor, and it turns out that people that are mouth breathers, that your mouth develops differently, and also the fact that we have so much soft food, chewy food, strengthens your mouth and it makes the oral cavity bigger. So actually, originally, what's it called? The tooth doctors starts with O.
Orthodontist?
Huh? Orthodontist, yeah. So orthodontistry actually started as pulling teeth to help make room in people's small ass mouths, and then they just kept shrinking because the tooth was gone, so it shrank even more than it would have. So that just shows how great our medical systems are. They're just completely full of shit from the get-go. But yeah, I think it's funny, like, to see, you know, like, inbred people out in the outdoors, you know, like, out in the country. And I felt like that originally, before I knew that, like, the little chin was just an evolutionary thing so they could look up for the UFOs better because the chin would just weigh them down. So, anyways. All right, well, I tried to be funny and informative because finding the truth in this world is like trying to find a kid at John Wayne Gacy's house. You got to dig for it. So I just some kind of weird shovel. So, all right, I'm Jason Robo. You guys have a good night. See you at the fire for some fire spinning. Cheers.
Thank you.
God. Talking about some fun stuff. Don't ever go swimming in the bay in San Francisco Bay. It's considered one of the top 10 Superfund sites. Superfund, not fun, because fund as in it takes a super amount of funds to clean up how dirty that location is, and it's in the top 10. Yeah, it's extremely dirty. Yeah. Right.